So today's video I've been really looking forward to. It's my first monthly to be read video. Today we're going to be discussing my February TBR. Stay tuned. So recently I posted my 2020 goals video. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, I'll put it at the top. One of the main goals that I had for 2020 was to read the Heroes of Olympus series. This is the next series after you've read Percy Jackson. There's a lot of good tie-ins, a lot of the same type of story structure with learning about these new characters. They end up at Camp Half-Blood. You end up going on a quest because there's some big thing that everything is leading up to. So the first book in that series is The Lost Hero. I'm actually about 25% of the way through with that book so far, but that's my first book on my February TBR. It's a book my wife has been recommending to me over and over and over again because she knows how much I loved reading Percy Jackson and I couldn't get enough of those books. So The Lost Hero follows three new characters. You've got Jason, Piper, and Leo. They all start out on this school bus. They're at this school for misfit kids, and it all leads to this kind of battle early in the book, which then leads to them meeting characters that we know from the Percy Jackson series. It ends up leading them to go to Camp Half-Blood. And then you learn about the quest and you kind of start getting little tidbits of information. Each one has their own individual story happening within the grand scheme of the entire book. So this book has been on my TBR for a really long time, and I'm happy to finally get started reading The Lost Hero and kicking off one of my main goals for 2020, which is reading the Heroes of Olympus series. So it's hard to imagine that I'm just now getting around to reading this book, but the second book on my February TBR is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Over the last couple of months, I made a commitment that I was finally going to read all the Harry Potter books. My wife actually bought all of them on Audible, so I've been listening to them on the way to work. I listen to them while I'm at work, and I've burned through them pretty quickly. And I'm excited to finally be able to finish this series. It's a little embarrassing that I've never actually read all of the books, seeing that I am a huge Harry Potter fan, but mostly because of the movies. I read a couple of the books years and years ago, but never finished the series. So I'm really happy to say that I'll finally be able to have the Harry Potter series under my belt at the end of February. So when I set my goals for 2020, the biggest goal that I had was I wanted to start reading the fantasy genre. What I quickly found out is that the fantasy genre is massive. There are so many writers and so many series. Everybody has their own opinion of what they think is best and where you should start, and don't start here, but yes, start here. I started to do a little bit of my own research, and a lot of people had the same recommendation on where was a good jumping off point when you've never read fantasy before and you just wanted to see how you feel about that type of style and that type of world, and that is the Witcher series. So the third book that I'm going to be reading this month is The Last Wish. This is what everybody said was the jumping off point for the Witcher series, and not only that, but this is going to be my jumping off point for the fantasy genre. So the fourth book on my February TBR is Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I've seen a lot of people say that this is what they would recommend as their jumping off point for reading King books. Personally, it's not where I started. I actually have put this book off for two different reasons. The first reason being, I've seen that King himself said this was his scariest book, his most disturbing, and apparently he didn't even want it to be published because he thought it would be too much for people to read. So that in itself has me nervous about reading the book. The second reason that I've put it off is I've seen a lot of reviews where people talk about how emotional the book is and that it deals with some really heavy material, especially when it comes to being a parent and doing anything for your child. So I have put it off, but I continue to have people recommend, hey, you've got to read Pet Sematary. That's one of the best King novels, and one of my goals for the year is to read 12 King novels, one a month. There's no way I could do it without reading Pet Sematary. So I figured, let's go ahead and jump on board. Let's read this book. It's going to be my last book of February that I read, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's my February TBR. Let me know in the comments down below, what books do you plan to read this year? Have you read any of the books that I'm going to be reading? And please continue to give me recommendations for more books that I can add that I need to read throughout the year. If you enjoyed the video, don't hesitate to hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.